Hi, I'm Gabe.
I'm Kelley.
I'm Vashitta.
Did you guys watch the votes yesterday?
I kind of feel like it was like a TV show or something. They went like 11 rounds of voting before Ryan Smith got elected speaker of the House.
I was like,
so
what are you guys
stupid.
talking about?
So
Yeah, I seen your
boring.
face. You're like, yeah. And that was probably their face as well. Several of the legislators were like tweeting and on Facebook. And
vote for me. How many candidates for House were there?
4.
Okay.
4 candidates for the Speaker of the House.
3 Republicans, 1 Democrat.
Right.
Yeah, it was an interesting showdown. Apparently, embarrassing.
So the Ohio House hasn't been with a proper speaker for 2 full months because the last guy got investigated by the feds for improper campaign cash whatever's with.
Oh, was that? I thought it was something much more sinister. I mean, that's not great, but
right?
I thought it was sinister.
Right. And
well, I mean, having the FBI investigate you, I guess, yeah.
Right.
Like
I'm being a reference for my friend for the FBI. I think I have a weird choice, but hello, FBI. How are you doing this today? Because I know you're looking up all you can about me.
You are a weird choice.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like, now they're looking at me. Damn it.
So they had to get a new Speaker of the House. 4 people threw their names in the ring. Traditionally, and I think this is
and duked it out. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
I
think it's a stupid tradition, but the tradition is that the minority party normally votes for whoever is going to be the ultimate winner. And then they cast what's essentially a unanimous vote. Everybody loves the speaker. That's dumb.
Yeah. And clearly did not work.
Yeah. So
no one likes anybody in the Ohio House.
This time the Democrats said, no, we're not going to do that. And nearly all of them voted for the Democratic leader, Fred Strayhorn, who's a terrific state representative.
He's a delight.
Yes.
And so then there was a split within the Republican caucus. And
who are supposed to be the supermajority.
Yeah. Could not get together a proper majority of votes because they needed 50% plus 1. And the guy who was the front runner couldn't get that. And so...
Yeah, it was an interesting thing that... I don't know what to say anymore. I think more and more we're seeing things happen in the state house that are what I'm looking for.
Depressing,
chaotic,
all of the above.
Just
unusual, to say the least. So
at what point are we just going to be like, yeah, that's about what I expected from the state house? Like when
will
we lose
probably
that
at that point now?
Through 10 rounds of voting.
Yeah, exactly. And then having this Trump administration, I think we're at that point.
I wonder how many. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the 2-party system, and I believe in like ranked voting, blah blah blah. I'm not going to get too in depth in that, but like, how many different factions of the Republican Party do you think we have in the Ohio State House right now?
2,
just 2. So we have what 3.5 parties.
Well, so yesterday it was most of the Republicans voted for Ryan Smith, who did ultimately win it, but he could only get 44 votes, and he needed 50. To win it as a constitutional majority. And the way the Ohio House is structured is if you do 10 votes and nobody gets a proper majority, then on the 11th ballot, whoever just happens to have the most wins it. And so that's what they did. So they had to actually stand there and because it's not a yes or no vote, like when they normally vote on a bill, they just ding, everybody pushes a button and the votes are counted instantly. This, they had to do a 99-person roll call.
Yes, each and every time.
10 times before they could finally then do an 11th one. I don't know why they didn't just say, hey, let's change the rules, skip votes 2 through 10 and jump straip to vote 11.
Because we have a sense of decorum in the Ohio House.
Right.
No,
but
don't.
But some Republicans centered around Andy Thompson, who is kind of he's the Trump style far right wing, Christina Hagan nominated him. Niraj Antani stood with him.
We used to have Tea Party Republicans and now we have Trump Republicans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
What's the difference? Name?
Yeah.
Maybe extreme you are? I don't know.
How many people are writing dissertations about this? Because I want to read them. and get real tired after I read them.
Well, I mean, the same split exists in Congress because you've got the John Boehner, Paul Ryan people, and
The
then
moderates.
right? The incredibly racist, horribly.
You have the outright racist, and you have like the behind closed doors racist.
That's exactly right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so then, in Ohio, we had John Boehner, and we still have his, establishment Republicans. But then you've got Jim Jordan, Congressman Jordan, who essentially helped force Boehner out.
Did you know we have
that same split?
We have 6 white nationalists running for office right now in the United States. Open white nationalists.
Oh, and one who's a pedophile.
I don't like talking about that story. That was upsetting.
Admitted to raping his now deceased wife.
Yes.
Very sickening.
It's not pleasant.
Not at all. Yeah, I literally could not make it through that article. Like I just was like,
wow, this story is way worse than the headline. And the headline's not great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very disturbing.
So I recommend not searching that out for anyone listening. Don't do it.
I mean, if you keep up with the news like we do, though, like you just can't help but to run into it. And it's actually something that we probably need to know, especially for those of us with kids. Like you need to know, like people. We already know people like this exist, but like now they're trying to actually take office. And
he's defending pedophilia by saying that people aren't pedophiles because of the being politically correct.
In case somebody missed the transition point in this conversation,
sorry,
we're no longer talking about the Ohio legislature.
I mean, we hope not, but who can say?
Yeah, nowadays you can't.
But yeah, there's definitely a disgusting faction of the Republican Party.
Yeah, with young.
Yeah, and the establishment is racist and gross, but then there's also this right wing.
You see, Roy Moore's wife ran and lost.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, so I don't know. I have to think back to what she actually ran for because I just kind of skimmed the article, didn't really care. I was just like, oh, okay, glad you lost. Bye.
Bye.
But yeah.
It's disturbing.
I wonder how many of like these behind closed doors racists would be open racists if it weren't for Lee Atwater and his Southern strategy.
I don't know. Roy Moore's wife
got feelings about that.
Her name is Kayla Moore, and she lost a bid for the state Republican Executive Committee in Alabama. So, at least some people are rejecting this extremism.
Even in Alabama.
Hey, don't say even in Alabama as if it's a surprise. There are some good people doing good work there.
They are. And then there's some other people who actually voted for these morons, and you're just hey.
But that could be said about Ohio too.
True enough.
There's some good people doing good work here in the state of Ohio. And so yesterday we got to see the return.
How many times?
Many times.
So many times.
Prevention first
don't
legislation.
Give up. Like that's the thing. Don't give up, right?
Yeah.
They don't.
No, that's true. As it stands, right? As it stands, prevention first. It's been introduced now for over a decade, and this is it's a comprehensive sex education bill. As it stands, the state of Ohio does not have mandatory sex ed or any kind of sex ed standards at the state level, so it's usually up to the district, which is to say that some districts it's great and some districts it's real bad.
And your children can be lied to, and if you're not a parent who feels comfortable talking to your kids about this stuff, then they're just not going to have the knowledge. So
yeah,
honestly, it needs to be done.
Yeah, this is one of those loopholes that allows like abstinence only and like crisis pregnancy centers to get into schools because it's set by the school board. So if you're just like, I'm not paying attention to the school board because who cares about local politics? A, let's have a conversation about that. And B, you should care.
Right.
So like if your high school does or middle school does sex education, you need to look into those standards and see who's doing those. And if it's not somebody you want to be teaching your kids, then you need to show the F up to the school board meetings and raise hell.
Right. Yeah. This is a problem that can be solved at 2 levels. Like you said, that local involvement is really the easiest way, but it doesn't solve things for everybody. So Representative Nickie Antonio and Representative Michelle Lepore-Hagan have introduced House Bill 248. 248 is a Prevention First Act. I'm just going to read the little explainer here. It says this bill includes creating comprehensive sexual health and sexually transmitted infection education in schools, providing certain hospital and pregnancy prevention services for victims of sexual assault, and coverage for prescription contraceptive drugs and devices. So This is a true prevention first act.
Absolutely.
It focuses on sex education for kids, comprehensive sex education, age appropriate comprehensive sex education for students.
So let's delve a little bit into that. What does age appropriate sex education look like?
Well, when I was in college, that was really the first time when I got a comprehensive sex education program.
Oh, wow.
That's embarrassing.
Our public school district in my hometown did a decent job of providing sex education, anatomy, different types of sexually transmitted diseases, all that stuff. We did not learn birth control. There was no, here's a condom, here's how a condom goes on, that sort of thing. And so when I came to Ohio State, it was a mandatory part of the freshman orientation. There was a freshman class in college where they did, this is how the condom goes on. This is where you get birth control on campus.
And most of you guys are probably way past that point in your life, but I mean, hey,
age appropriate sex ed really should begin at a much younger age. I mean, kindergartners should be having the conversation about good touch, bad touch. Not
I have that with my kids now. My 4-year-old, my 7-year-old, been doing it with my 7-year-old since she was like 3 or 4. Like, you need to have this is people don't touch you here. You know what I mean? Like, this is that's what I would deem age appropriate.
Give them the foundations of like the conversation of consent. Like, yes, I will hug you. No, I won't hug you. Like, basically just nothing that's like, here's what sex is at 5, but like an understanding of,
and they're just gonna look at you like you're crazy anyways. But then they start asking questions, hey, where do babies come from? I'm sure your kids have probably asked that. Mine has, my daughter.
I first got like a little overview of sex ed in 5th grade, and it was puberty, and it was too late for me. I started my period at the beginning of 5th grade and didn't get sex ed about it until like 6 months later, and I was like, that would have been nice to know, because I was terrified.
The lesson that I got in college would have been age appropriate at
what, 15?
In really, could have been middle school, junior high.
I agree with
absolutely would have been age appropriate
a lot sooner.
Freshman year in high school. But people hear sex ed and comprehensive sex ed, and they're teaching condoms and all of that, and they make that false assumption that you just illustrated. The age appropriate sex education can be taught at any level,
absolutely,
age appropriately, and it starts with teaching just kindergartners, don't hug your friend if they don't want to be hugged. That's it.
Force or hug on them.
That's the whole kindergarten appropriate lesson. It's just, we keep our hands to ourselves. If somebody does something that makes you uncomfortable, you go and tell a trusted adult. That's the whole age appropriate lesson for kindergartners.
But the earlier it starts, the better, and the more important, they learn to.
It should be a seamless conversation from age 4 to age 18 and longer. Actually, like, I think sex ed should go into college and young adulthood. Or even like late adulthood. I have feelings about this. We can talk about our whole lives program for the Unitarian Universalist. It's great.
So in addition to age appropriate comprehensive sex education, this also, we said, provides certain hospital and pregnancy prevention services for victims of sexual assault. What that is, I know because we've had this specific idea as past legislation in past General Assemblies. Ohio hospitals don't have to provide emergency contraception in emergency rooms for rape victims.
They don't have to, or they're prevented from doing.
If you're a survivor of rape and you walk into some ERs and say, "Hey, I need emergency contraception. I've been raped," the hospital doesn't have to provide it to you. And there are some ERs that won't, because
like Catholic hospitals.
It's a Catholic hospital, and they erroneously feel that emergency contraception, which is just birth control pills at a higher dosage, is somehow equivalent to abortion medication, which it is not at all. So we don't have EC in the ER.
Boo.
And this bill fixes that.
So hopefully this bill will get through, pass,
or at least like get a second hearing.
A second hearing
would be progress.
Yes,
it would be.
And that was something that was brought up by the bill sponsors, is whenever they've brought this forward, specifically the Catholic Conference of Bishops. I've said that backwards or something, but basically the Catholic church's lobbying wing stands against this legislation. And even though Ohio Right to Life says that they don't take a position on birth control access, they actually do. And
I was going to say they really do.
Yeah.
So yeah,
they'll lobby behind the scenes against this. So
absolutely.
This Prevention First legislation does have significant political opposition within the state house.
It was Representative Duffy that brought up that he would be interested in helping facilitate the conversation with the Catholic Conference of Bishops or whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, I think this bill could very well have bipartisan support. It should have bipartisan support.
It should have unanimous support.
Exactly.
I mean, yes, but
like we're all,
but it doesn't.
No.
Understand the importance of just having, this stuff available and teaching your children. And I don't understand, but hey.
I mean, I understand, but also like, why?
It's ridiculous.
It is.
This wasn't the only bill we saw getting a little bit of attention in the committee process this week.
Oh, yeah.
Senate Bill 145, the
Our
abortion
4-minute hearing.
method ban.
Yep.
It got amended.
What did the amendments, they didn't even go into the amendments. They just like, here's our amendment, and they didn't expound upon it. So what are the actual amendments for this bill?
The abortion method ban. So it bans the safest and most commonly performed second trimester abortion procedure.
Yeah.
Your alternatives are prenatal hospice or labor.
So the way the bill was written, the experts that we rely on said, hey, wait a minute, this would interfere with miscarriage management. So women who had lost a pregnancy but had not yet delivered a stillborn fetus would not be able to access care through their medical provider because of the way that the bill was written. And so what they did is that was not the intent of the bill sponsor. I think both sides are in agreement about that. We definitely were raising alarms about that, but we know that Senate Bill 145 is meant to be an abortion ban.
Right.
It blocks women's access to a safe, legal, and constitutionally protected medical procedure. It's an unconstitutional abortion ban. And so what they did is they clarified and said, no, this bill will not interfere with miscarriage management. And so I think it's safe to say both sides are in agreement that that wasn't the intent, and now the bill doesn't do that.
It still sucks.
It's still an unconstitutional abortion ban. It's a terrible piece of legislation. Yes. The fact that they're amending it to fix that,
trying to clean that up,
means that we might see this bill pass out of the House. It's a Senate bill. It already passed the Senate. So if it passes the House, this will go to Governor Kasich's desk.
Exactly. And
it doesn't have an exception for rape or incest.
Again, like many of them don't.
Right.
Do any bills that are like any restrictions currently passed have the rape or incest restrictions they claim they're supposed to have?
No, they never include them. And Ohio Right to Life has said that any candidate who insists upon them will not get their endorsement. So Republicans, if they said, "Hey, wait a minute, we want this," would lose this. And Kasich has said that he wants to see exceptions for rape or incest. And that was his excuse for vetoing the 6-week ban. But the same day he vetoed that, he signed the 20-week ban, which did not have exceptions for rape or incest. So Kasich talked about both sides of his mouth.
Right.
And this bill, doesn't have that. It's a horrific bill, which would do, unspeakably evil things to women who need care in the second trimester.
That reminds me that the total abortion ban got assigned to committee, didn't it?
It did. So, there's actions on 2 unconstitutional abortion bans that if the Republican Party wants to unify itself, they might try, moving one of these.
How far has the total ban gone in committee and or being passed before?
The total abortion ban, it's a House bill. It has not yet had a committee hearing.
Cool.
Yeah. So we might see the bill sponsors. I think that's Ron Hood and Vitale.
Yes.
Hey everybody, have you registered to vote? Have you updated your registration since you moved last? Let's make sure we do that.
You can now do that online.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very convenient.
Please and thank you.
Right. And then vote for Kathleen Clyde because she'll make all the
make it even easier. Maybe we'll get same day registration like they have in California.
Right. Yeah, so these, one good bill, one bad bill, getting hearings this week. Yay.
I know. Maybe it's a little bit of a balance there. We shall see how things turn out.
I wouldn't say it's a balance.
No.
Not a balance I'm interested in. So this week, in other Ohio reproductive health news, an organization called the Campaign for Accountability. It's a nonpartisan, nonprofit watchdog group focused on public accountability. They called on Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine to investigate 2 crisis pregnancy centers, the Elizabeth New Life Center and Heartbeat of Toledo, for engaging in deceptive business practices in violation of Ohio's Consumer Sales Protection Act. So basically, this group, which is not a reproductive health care,
I'd never heard of them. I was looking over their
yeah.
website and I don't think
Yeah.
I've seen like other things about like Capitol Hill condo parties and like something to do with rooftop solar. So I think like it's a general purpose watchdog to see like where malfeasance is happening. They're not
right.
specifically going after like women's health or like fake clinics. It's just
But malfeasance is here.
yeah, it is.
CPCs.
Yeah, so-called crisis pregnancy centers. They're really fake women's health centers. They set up shop close to abortion clinics to try and lure patients away from abortion clinics. Be it similar marketing to the Planned Parenthood. Yeah, I think there's like one in Massachusetts. It's like right next to the Planned Parenthood, and it's called Problem Pregnancy. So they get to have that PP logo too.
Yeah.
And like they don't have any actual medical staff on the premises, but like they provide ultrasounds just for fun. They're not diagnostical ultrasounds, but if you don't know this and you're going into they're going to be like, oh, you're 12 weeks along, you're too late for an abortion, and you're actually like 5 weeks along.
Right. They don't have a qualified person reading it, so they can't tell you what it says.
Yeah, and like sometimes like the ultrasound will be like, don't kill me, mommy. Like they're big on the guilt, and they're big on like, you know, just straight up lying to you. And Ohio is not you know, immune from this. In fact, we at the state level fund them up to $1 million. What, annually? Biannually?
Biannually, $500,000 a year. Plus, they get money from license plates. If you pick a Choose Life license plate,
please don't.
And if your school district contracts with the CPC for absence-only programs, then they get cash for that too.
Yay! So this organization is calling on Mike DeWine, who is vehemently pro-life, to do some
choice.
Sorry, to do research into these CPCs and their malfeasance and their, you know, deliberate deception. But we'll see if that actually happens, since that's not really his jam.
Right. Yeah. I mean, more than I think just do research into them. You know, enforce the law that says, hey,
don't lie to people.
You can't have businesses engaging in deceitful behavior.
Right, absolutely.
Is it against the law to lie to people?
In this way, as a business,
a business,
especially when you get into the
funding.
How many of these CPCs are like nonprofits versus like actual businesses? Can nonprofits lie to people? Is that going to be their loophole?
I believe they're all listed as nonprofits.
Okay.
I don't think that changes their requirements. But you know, it's you're engaging in unfair and deceptive tactics.
Yeah.
That's what the law says. The Consumer Sales Protection Act says you know, if you're listed as a for-profit or a nonprofit business, you're not allowed to deceive people.
This is interesting because it'll be kind of not necessarily like a workaround, but I'm thinking about like the FACT Act in California and Vashitta versus NIFLA. Like, the decision should be coming down this month.
Yes.
And that act specifically outlaws medical centers from lying to people in California, and it's being challenged at the Supreme Court as to whether or not that's a legal thing. Yeah. So I'm wondering, like, if that comes down with an outcome that we don't want, if we can enforce it elsewhere. I am not a lawyer.
Yeah, I think you're right. Is that creates a legal precedent that we can use. The Campaign for Accountability says that the law prohibits businesses from engaging in unfair and deceptive tactics based on their misleading marketing, based on the crisis pregnancy centers, misleading marketing materials, websites, grant applications, and the strategic location of their offices, it is apparent that these two facilities are engaging in deceptive practices in violation of the law.
I wonder why these two specifically and not, I don't know, Kinder Women's Health Center.
It could be that they just had like the most blatant examples that are most obviously making the point.
So I'm interested to see, like, if we don't get the outcome we want with NIFLA versus Vashitta, if we can use this as the legal argument against them.
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I'm just interested in what the answer would be.
Yeah, but this is a complaint filed not against Mike DeWayne, but with him, because he's the Attorney General, saying, "Hey, Mr. Attorney General, why don't you do your job?"
Yeah.
This will be interesting to follow.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So we'll put the link to this announcement by the Campaign for Accountability in the show notes. So last week we talked about presidential pardons.
Trump said he could pardon himself. That's not legal.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't.
No, I mean, I think there's like actually legal precedent from
I'm
1947 that you can't pardon yourself as president.
Yes. He would probably still try, but this is what we have to deal with now.
At what point is the legal system gonna enforce what it says? I don't understand what's happening in our country.
It's so hard to actually sit back and have to watch this and just like, oh,
who let this happen?
Right.
Who's in charge here?
Oh yeah, that's right. Donald Trump.
Oh no.
But he did issue a pardon for Alice Marie Johnson.
Yes,
which we talked about last week.
And I don't know if you guys seen any of the videos, but it was just heartbreaking. At the same time, it was bittersweet, just to see her being reunited with her family. She's like, I haven't been in a car without handcuffs in almost 22 years.
Wow.
Like, it's just like, this is somebody who did not murder somebody, like,
right.
This is just crazy. So,
I think what's especially frustrating about this is he didn't do it because he feels like she should.
Oh, because he's a good person.
No, yeah. I mean, it's like you're working with a 6-year-old on Kohlberg's moral theory. Like, you do it because you get the accolades for having done it, not because you feel like you should do it.
That's exactly right.
Right.
Just casually dropping some psychology in the box. Hello, what's up?
Ms. Johnson had been 21 years into a life sentence
for a non-violent first-time drug offense.
Yeah, which is just like the most puzzling thing.
Yeah, and we all know how we feel about our grandmother. So, like,
right.
This is a grandmother who made a mistake, and
I want to fight my grandma.
I did not have those feelings, but okay.
It's a long story.
I remember you telling me about it.
So Kim Kardashian West had asked President Trump for this pardon specifically, and it was granted. And somebody was on Twitter saying, "Hey, maybe the solution is just to send Kim Kardashian into the Oval Office."
I know, right?
A list of things.
Yeah, let's just like
rally. Apparently, is what works.
Yeah, I mean,
let's rally up our reality TV stars and
exactly.
Why not?
This appeals to the president.
Yeah, if
Pendulette, are you listening?
If it's the craziest way of getting a good outcome,
right?
Should we just accept the crazy?
Sometimes you have to meet people where they are. So, like in this instance, that's what's happening.
I really wouldn't be surprised if he's elected a second term, if we'll just turn it into a reality TV show.
I'm moving out of the country.
I'm gonna move to Ireland and do abortion access organizing there. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like the worst idea.
Right?
So, we definitely do applaud this pardon.
Yes.
This pardon specifically.
Yes.
Nothing else he does.
Not as other pardons.
No.
Okay. So should we talk about Pride festivals? We got Pride festivals coming up.
Sure. We have 3 this weekend, and it's all rural prides. 2 out of 3 are their first year. One of them is their second year.
That's really exciting for new Pride festivals. To be happening.
Yeah. So I'll be in Newark, Ohio on Saturday. I'll be in Athens on Sunday. And Athens is actually going all week. I'm just only able to go on Sunday. And then Zanesville on Monday night. So
interesting.
So they're not only like new prides, but they're I can't say that word. Rural prides. So it's really exciting. I am excited to go out to these towns. I've actually never been to Newark or Zanesville, so it'll be a good time. I hope.
They're very, nice, picturesque little towns.
Make it gay.
Yeah, rural Ohio is fairly conservative,
right?
Very Christian, and to have pride festivals existing throughout
deal.
rural Ohio is terrific.
Yeah, I'm really proud that they're able to do this. I mean, it's actually been an interesting year because Columbus, Indiana, also had their first Pride this year. That's the hometown of Mike Pence. There's a comedy show
I heard that.
Yeah, there's a comedy show next Tuesday that's actually going to raise money to benefit Columbus, Indiana's Pride. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that all of us are flourishing, but we're certainly building our communities and making them stronger and making them louder. Because if you're not going to listen to reason, we're going to make you listen otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
And so those are the rural ones. You could stage a production of the Rural Juror. Anybody?
Yeah. No, I know that. Ooh, pop culture reference that Gabe and I both understand.
It's only 10 years old.
Rural Juror.
And then in Columbus, we're participating in the Columbus Community Pride.
Yes, which is
Festival.
This is the first year it's been put on. It's put on by Black Queer Intersectional Columbus. It's a pride that focuses on queer, trans, and intersex persons of color. So that's really exciting.
Yes.
It's like we're focusing on marginalized communities, people that aren't necessarily like the focus of traditional prides.
Right.
It's going to be at Mamie Moore. I think I'm pronouncing that Mamie Moore Park.
Yes.
In the King Lincoln. District.
King Arts Complex.
Yeah, like in that it's
Area,
over there
arena.
as I point to like a behind our office.
Details in the show notes.
Yeah. I've never been to Mamie Moore Park, so I'm excited. And we're going to be sharing a table with Planned Parenthood, so we talked about Title 10 and stuff going on there, and it'll be really great. I'm looking forward to it.
Right.
So yeah, this is the first year it's happening. It's an alternative to Stonewall Columbus Pride, which we will not be at this year.
Right.
So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an alternative, lifting up a community that's been
Systematically ignored. Let's be real.
I didn't want to use the word excluded because that sort of implies intention, but it's the result.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really obvious last year during the parade, when
The
Black and transgender individuals tried to raise this issue during the parade.
Right.
It was following the Philando Castile verdict, and they were hoping to have a
silent protest
at the end of the Stonewall Columbus parade, and were immediately attacked by the police.
Yeah. So,
which just kind of like emphasizes their point is that Black trans people of color are, systematically targeted by the police.
Right. And this was a situation that I think initially for many, for myself was kind of puzzling. And it's like, what is this happening? Why is this happening during the parade? And then it was explained. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. But then it continued because the Black Pride 4 were still in jail and facing charges.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a really obvious, easy solution of asking the prosecutor to drop the charges and say, hey, this stemmed from a well-intentioned point.
Right.
It was a bit of a misunderstanding. You can say that it's a bit of a misunderstanding. Charges should be dropped. I think for most of the Columbus community watching, once you get to the point where the charges had not been dropped, that was the point when a lot of people said, hey, wait a minute, this is a lot of bullshit. And we should be, we should not have these people be facing legal charges for what happened.
Exactly.
How you felt about them taking, what they did at the time, continuing to press charges, and for Stonewall to not be vocal about saying, hey, drop the charges.
Not only didn't stay not only stayed silent, but then testified against them in court.
Yeah. That's
not a good look.
Where, even for me who kind of looked at the initial thing just with a little bit of, lack of understanding, once I got to the point about, hey, we haven't dropped the charges yet, and they're actually going to prosecute these people, that's when
exactly
it really sort of became an infuriating situation.
Yeah.
And so stemming from that last year, I think was really the impetus to create this alternative festival. So inaugural year for this, we're very proud to support them.
Absolutely.
It's really exciting to be able to talk to new communities, kind of branch out of what we normally do, and just like support new organizations and new work.
Right. So rural the rural gays,
the rural gays, and then like the people of color. It'll be great.
Yes. If you are in the state of Ohio celebrating sexual freedom in the month of June,
yes,
we're with you.
We love you.
And then you're wrapping up the Pride tour with Cincinnati.
Yes, I'll be in Cincinnati the 24th. Nope, just kidding. The 23rd of June. That'll be the same weekend of ComFest. I don't know if you guys have realized this, but June is going to kill me.
Yes.
Yes.
You will need a break. Usually,
I'm going to take the first half of July. Nobody talked to me.
Yeah. Vashitta at the end of June last year was just like, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have loved
crawling. I would have out of the month of June.
I would have loved for you guys to have hired me last June. I was off I was going to work all of the prides while very pregnant. Glad I didn't have to.
Right. That would have been a very hard and hot, trying time for you.
Right. And you mentioned ComFest. We put out a request for people to volunteer in our booth, the Freedom of Choice Ohio booth at ComFest. All of those slots are full. We had a ton of volunteers.
Hell yeah. Also really exciting stuff that weekend. Lady Parts Justice is going to be in Columbus that weekend. They have a talk at the Solar Tent at like 5:15 that Saturday. And then they'll be
at ComFest.
Yes, at ComFest. And then on Sunday, they'll be at Ace of Cups. There's going to be a comedy show followed by a talk back with some local activists and organizers, which I think includes me.
Right. So ComFest has kind of been wrapping up earlier and earlier in the evening every year. So if you're there on Sunday and then you want to do something different and fun, head up High Street to Ace of Cups in Clintonville and catch their show.
Yeah. June's going to be a month full of just come hang out with me, come table. It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of fun.
So far, we've been having a lot of amazing volunteer sign-ups.
Yeah,
I've been extremely excited. So,
right.
So, lots of stuff going on.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll talk to everybody next week.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.